It's open.
Ooh, Mr. Hopper, you will be haunted by 3 ghosts.
Oh, hey Right Angle, what's up?
I do not know this right angle of which you speak.
Okay, first off, I can see your horn and tail sticking out of that costume. And second, what kind of ghost has to come through the front door?
You're no fun. Can't you fake it for once?
Now, where's the fun in that? Anyways, I've seen better looking ghosts in most cartoons.
Yeah, I'll admit today's media has not been all that good when it comes to ghosts.
Oh, how so?
I really don't want to talk about it. Anyway, did we have a countdown to do?
Yeah, just give me a sec.
What about me?
There you go. Be careful with your new OC, it costs a lot.
Neat! I finally have hands now!
You're welcome, and now for the atmosphere. So, let the review begin.
Come out to socialize. Grinning ghosts come out to socialize.
Hello everyone, I'm your cartoon and animation fanatic, Channel Hopper, and the channels I hop through are good enough to review.
And I'm Right Angle. I excel at having the right angle on each review all the time.
Today's video is a look at our top 13 favorite ghosts, spirits, specters, or whatever you want to call them. They don't have to be just from cartoons, they just have to be animated and memorable to us. They also cannot be fake, and we can only include one ghost per franchise.
So grab your gear and leave all your fears behind as we come to our first stop with... Number 13? Casper the Friendly Ghost. What? Not all ghosts have to be bad, you know. A case in point, Casper is your typical nice kid from down the block that everyone knows. Yet he also never forgets the fact that he's a ghost. Ironically, he's actually kind of haunted by that fact. He's often forced into doing his ghostly deeds in order to keep in good standing with his community. So every ghostly thing that he ever does is kind of half-assed. Which might explain why he's at the bottom of the list. But he still makes the list by standing out in his own way. Because he wants to befriend the living instead of terrorize them, he can collaborate with them to solve larger-than-life problems. That's pretty unique for a ghost.
Casper the Friendly Ghost first started out in comics and was later adapted into a variety of direct-to-videos and cartoons from the likes of Paramount, Universal, and even Hanna-Barbera. But what makes Casper so memorable is that we sympathize with this character just trying to make a friend, while most of the living heads for the hills when they first see him, and other ghosts seem to ostracize him. There have been a few people and animals who look past what he is and focus on who he is. Casper isn't called the Friendly Ghost for nothing, and even manages to have a few tail-jerking moments in his shows. Oh no, my heart can't take another one of those. I'm already halfway in the grave as it is.
All in all, it has been Casper's persistently friendly nature that has helped him stand the test of time. More than enough to make the list.
Casper the Friendly Ghost. Grinning ghosts come out to socialize.
Number 12. The Flying Dutchman. The Flying Dutchman is the ghost of Bikini Bottom and would often haunt or torture anyone who disrespects him. This unfriendly ghost would even steal the souls of his victims and place them in a bag he carries with him, which kinda makes him the devil of the sea when you think about it. He's malicious at times and even sadistic when it comes to his scaring and torturing methods. However, as the show SpongeBob progressed, the Flying Dutchman slowly became more comedic than evil.
What makes the Flying Dutchman stand out is his experience. He's been doing the whole scary ghost routine longer than most other ghosts, so he has a pretty clear idea about what terrifies others. Sometimes he even stops being scary himself in order to pass on his knowledge in some instances.
Spiders are scary. I'm scary. You're not scary.
But this doesn't mean that he doesn't have anything left to learn. He's had to learn to adapt to how his targets can get used to his old shtick. So he constantly has to find a new way to up the ante.
While this ghost is capable of all sorts of magic that can even rival King Neptune, he's still just number 12 on the list because just like the show, he should have been put to rest years ago.
Whoa! Harsh, dude!
Do you want to watch modern SpongeBob?
Nope, I'm good.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Wind-winning ghost, the mountain socialite.
Number 11. Sarah Ravencroft. One of the rules for this list is that we can only use actual ghosts, not people pretending to be ghosts, so 99% of Scooby-Doo's villains were automatically disqualified. That being said, there was a time in the late 90s and early 2000s where Scooby and the gang did come across legit monsters. They came across zombies, aliens, but the most terrifying of them all is the witch's ghost, Sarah Ravencroft, the first legit monster that actually tried to kill Mystery Inc.
Wait, what about the 13 ghosts of Scooby-Doo? Those were legit ghosts and even had the famous Vincent Price himself.
Yeah, and it also had Scrappy Doo.
Point taken. What made Sarah Ravencroft so memorable is the fact that before she was imprisoned in her book, she was indeed a witch with magic capable of destroying the entire land. If a ghost wasn't scary enough, a ghost that was once a witch is sure to make anyone feel the name Ravencroft. On top of all that, she is played by one of my favorite voice actresses of all time, Tress MacNeille, and she brings evil to a whole new level throughout her performance.
Something that a lot of people forget about witches is, before they became relatively unthreatening, witches in Pilgrim Society were the most terrifying thing imaginable. If there was one thing that we could learn from the Salem witch trials is that a genuine witch drew her power from the devil himself. If that fact holds true for Sarah Ravencroft, then she's arguably the most powerful ghost on this list. If it weren't for that technicality, she would have survived and sent the world into decay. That's legitimately scary for a Scooby-Doo villain.
Yeah, a witch becoming a ghost is terrifying. However, the next ghost on this list was also a powerful witch early in her life, and even as a ghost, she's still capable of great evil.
Wind-winning ghost, the mountain socialite.
Number 10. Wuya. Just like the previous entry, Wuya started out as a powerful witch capable of eclipsing the entire world in darkness, but was sealed away and later became a ghost. And I'll admit she's not as strong as she was before, but she is still capable of evil. As her ghost form, Wuya has the basic abilities such as intangibility, levitation, illusions, and possessions, but also a few tricks of her own such as detecting the activation of Shengan Wu and being able to read minds.
But none of these abilities would mean anything if Wuya didn't know how to use them. Fortunately, that's not an issue here. What makes Wuya frightening in her own right is how she's able to use all of these abilities to manipulate others, even to the point of getting one of the heroes of the show to revive her to her physical body. This most likely comes from years of practice as she goes out of her way to use these skills every chance she gets. Honestly, I don't blame her. I mean, come on. If the closest thing you had to help was Jack Spicer, you would look for every alternative as well.
Wuya is a master of deception, whether ghost or human, and even the Prince of Darkness himself, Chase Young, has stated, quote, "The very things that make you a worthy partner in evil make you, well, very untrustworthy." So even Chase Young takes precaution when dealing with this ghost of a witch.
As for our next contender, she's not exactly evil, but more of a typical middle school girl who just happens to be a ghost.
Wind-winning ghost, the mountain socialite.
Number 9. Carrie Krueger. Remember how we said that not all ghosts have to be evil? Well, Carrie may not be a role model for most girls her age, but she more than makes up for it with her personality. Something that the Amazing World of Gumball likes to do is build someone up as a stereotype, only to go halfway, then fill the other half with a surprisingly welcome character trait that makes them stand out. In Carrie's case, she has a goth girl vibe that's complemented by a can-do, stubborn attitude of a tomboy. When she interacts with the other characters, it's easy to see how these two offsetting traits make for a fun character.
Carrie is by far my favorite character in the Amazing World of Gumball, mainly because of her depressed personality combined with her simple design. She's described as your typical emo girl who likes being miserable and has a habit of possessing Gumball in order to eat. She's pretty much the only ghost child in Elmore Junior High, and unlike your typical emo girl, she has a pretty good social life and has a thing for ponies, which is odd because colorful and happy things are something she's afraid of.
Well, seeing is believing. Speaking of which, did you know that you can summon ghosts just by uttering their name repeatedly?
Huh, really?
Yeah, watch. Casper, Casper, Casper.
Oh, let me try. Lewis, Lewis, Lewis.
Carrie, 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 Carrie.
Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. Okay, let's move on before something else happens. Number 8. King Ramses' Ghost. If there's one thing that could be considered common knowledge about ancient Egypt, it's that disturbing a pharaoh's tomb is the last thing anyone should do. Courage the Cowardly Dog is no stranger to bizarre and supernatural monsters in the middle of nowhere, but by far one of the strangest and most frightening of the creatures is none other than the ghost of King Ramses.
Return the slab, or suffer my curse.
Back in the early 2000s, this ghost was the thing that nightmares were made of due to his unnatural movement and eerie voice that felt so otherworldly at the time. This was a ghost whose presence alone was enough to send chills down your spine.
Typically, whenever a show brings in a character or element that clashes with the typical art style, it almost always backfires. So why did Ramses work so perfectly with so many odds against him? Probably because of his roots. Ancient Egypt. Egyptian mythology is filled with some of the most bizarre creatures and rituals of any of the classical mythologies. From a giant snake demon destined to swallow the sun and end the world, to a jackal-headed god that judges you with a scale and a feather. No wonder Ramses works so well. The offbeat nature of Egyptian mythology benefited this alternate art style perfectly.
King Ramses' design sure was disturbing as a kid, but another crucial element worth mentioning about this ghost is his use of the Pharaoh's curse, which consists of 3 plagues such as water, loud music, and a swarm of locusts that can devour practically anything in sight. Now, these 3 are nothing like the 10 plagues of Egypt, but it's nice to see a more watered down version of the legends associated with ancient Egypt.
While a ghost from ancient Egypt is terrifying, our next ghost comes from an alien laboratory that is literally out of this world. Number 7. Fantasmo. Hey, it's the Alfred Hitchcock experiment. What ghost list would be complete without one that can possess inanimate objects? Fantasmo specializes in this ability, making him a real challenge for Lilo and Stitch. Why is he a challenge? First of all, he is completely transparent, which means putting him in a container like the other experiments is out of the question. Second of all, he can also possess other objects and bring them to life in a pretty devilish manner. Oh, and as if he wasn't creepy enough already, he now resides in the Hawaiian equivalent of Chuck E. Cheese.
Well, at least he hasn't made a trip to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, as if that place needs any more help. So Fantasmo, or better known as Experiment 375, is indeed a genetic experiment created by Dr. Jumba Jukiba that's designed to enact chaos anywhere he goes by possessing inanimate objects, but what few people forget is that he also has an advanced program that orders him to eliminate anyone who knows his secret, so this is one ghost you do not want to meet, otherwise you might be joining him soon enough.
For his limited screen time, Fantasmo has become one of the more memorable of Stitch's cousins from his appearance and first debuted as a troublemaker that painted Stitch in a bad light. And while trying to stop him proves to be futile, the experiment does eventually settle down in an animatronic macaw to gain an appreciation for his power instead of using it for chaos.
While this phantasm only made it to number 7, we'll meet another green-colored spook who's quite harmless and loves eating but craves attention more than scaring people. Number 6. Slimer. This countdown wouldn't be complete without mentioning at least one ghost from the real Ghostbusters cartoon, and trust me, we had a lot of choices to pick from, and I was even considering putting the Boogeyman on this list if it wasn't for one crucial factor.
It's not a ghost!
Since the boogeyman's not a ghost, we can't use the standard traps on him.
So we had to go with the next best Spectre that stood out to us, which was this harmless green ball of ectoplasm named Slimer, voiced by the one and only Frank Welker. Slimer may have started out as mischievous and annoying, but over time the Ghostbusters grew to like him and even consider him a fellow Ghostbuster. Slimer is even willing to sacrifice himself in order to help the Ghostbusters at times, and has even lent a hand to the Extreme Ghostbusters.
It should be noted that Slimer came out during that special decade called the 80s, where practically every show had a mascot. An annoying, in-your-face, won't shut the hell up mascot. And seeing that Slimer was in the original Ghostbusters movie, it only made sense to make him the mascot of the Ghostbusters cartoon. While his debaucherous attitude did carry over from the movie in some ways, he was easily the more tolerable of the mascots that came out during that time. Think about it. Would you rather spend 30 minutes with Slimer or Scrappy-Doo?
I think I'd rather spend a day with SpongeBob than watch one episode with Scrappy-Doo. Slimer may not be the best ghost or best 80s cartoon mascot, but he well makes up for it with his harmless nature and helpful moments to the Ghostbusters. If there was a bump in the night, it might just be Slimer raiding your fridge.
What? Ow! Slimer! Let me at him! Let me blast him! Come on!
Number 5. Gastly, Haunter, and Gengar. Okay, we know we're technically putting 3 ghosts in one spot instead of one, but I think we can let this one slide, right? Besides, all 3 of these Pokemon are from the same evolutionary line, so it counts. We meet these 3 ghoulish Pokemon when Ash comes up frighteningly short in his gym battle against Sabrina, which prompts Ash to look for ghost Pokemon to even the odds. One short-term death later, Ash teams up with Haunter and the battle is on once again.
To me, ghost Pokemon were some of the best Pokemon around, but the main reason we chose these 3 in the evolutionary lineup is because we couldn't pick which one was the best in design, power, and overall nostalgia of these Pokemon. Gastly got his first debut in the episode The Ghost of Maiden's Peak, where Gastly posed as the Maiden's ghost and toyed with the minds of men and possessed a wide variety of abilities such as being able to talk, shapeshift, and create terrifying illusions. Haunter and Gengar were just fun, playful Pokemon in the episode Tower of Terror, along with a different Gastly.
Another good way to judge a ghost on this list is to measure them against their enemies. Here, our 3 ghost Pokemon are going toe-to-toe with the unstable telepath Sabrina. Typically, it's the wacky human character that goes up against the unstable ghost. So this was a nice change of pace as Haunter uses his goofy antics to win Sabrina over, and bring her humanity back out again.
There have been a number of theories out there that suggest Gengar is the shadow or the dead version of Clefable, which now that I think about it is kinda creepy. Almost as creepy as Haunter eating your dreams. While we would love to go further into these 3 ghost Pokemon, we have to keep this list moving with one magenta colored ghost who took the internet by storm. Number 4. Louis Pepper. Before Louis's untimely death, he was formerly a member of the Mystery Skulls Paranormal Investigation Team, much like Scooby-Doo but with better music. Louis would then meet his demise at the hand of a possessed author, but would later come back as a Skeletor ghost who resides in a haunted mansion he created to lure the remaining members of Mystery Skulls and take his retribution on Arthur. What got Louis this far on the list was the emotional connection we as the audience felt with this guy in just the time span of a 4-minute song. Louis seemed like a confident and optimistic guy who had a family, friends, and a girlfriend, but sadly loses it all due to a spirit possessing his best friend.
Louis is without question one of the more tragic characters on this list. Throughout the entire video, all he is trying to do is pick up where he left off with his friends. Okay, he also wants to off one of his friends, but you get the idea. But can you blame him? Look at what he had and where he is now. I don't blame him for trying to settle things with his friends. In more ways than one, even reconnect with someone he loves. But what does he get in the end? More of the same, with a heart in desperate need of repair.
As I've stated in my review of Mystery Skulls Animated Freaking Out, not much is known about Lewis as to who he was as a human before he met Mr. and Mrs. Pepper, but hopefully the next few videos by Mystery Ben could shed some light onto this guy. Another theory I have is that maybe these three spirits are controlling him to seek revenge, and maybe they're the source of his powers.
Lewis is definitely one of the more unknown ghosts on this list due to what limited info we have on him at this point. But our next ghost has a documented and rather morbid history. Number 3, Archibald Corduroy. Gravity Falls has come to an end, but the mysteries live on. And one of the best ones is the rise of the Northwest family and the history of betrayal that they left in their wake. This mystery is so prevalent throughout the show that one of their greatest victims actually lives in their mansion with the hope of exposing their lies once and for all. Needless to say, it led to one of the best episodes of the show, finally bringing the Northwest storyline to a head as Dipper and Pacifica work together with the ghost to finally stick it to Preston Northwest.
As with most ghosts, some refuse to move on unless a debt is repaid or a promise is fulfilled, and Archibald Corduroy is here for his promise that the Northwest family made years ago. Archibald made it this far on the list because he represents the type of ghost known as the vengeful ghost that seeks revenge for a cruel, unnatural, or unjustified death. And according to him, the Northwest family broke their promise to all the workers who perished in the construction of their manor in the hopes of getting a party thrown for them, so Archibald is back to take his revenge unless a member of the family fulfills the promise.
This is what most people think of when they think of a scary ghost. They are vindicated in their actions, but the lengths they are going to make justice happen makes the audience wonder if their humanity has disappeared entirely. As the audience, you can sympathize with his past, but you can't justify the lengths he's going to. The best part about all of this is that the issue is not lost on the main characters. Dipper and Pacifica faced a genuine dilemma here, speaking all the more to the show's maturity.
Maturity is right. I mean, I know Disney can have some of the darkest moments in their movies, but damn, this episode was by far the darkest I've seen for a Disney cartoon. But on the bright side, I know who to call if a ghost like this goes bumping in the night.
If you say what I think you're going to say, I will hurt you so badly that your ancestors and descendants will feel my wrath.
Excuse me for a bit, I need to make a few changes to the script. Number 2, Danny Phantom. Wow, I dodged a bullet there. So Danny Phantom follows the story of a 14-year-old boy whose parents are ghost hunters, and one fateful accident later causes Danny's molecules to be mixed with ghost DNA, thus turning him into a ghost with all sorts of powers to keep the other ghosts from coming through the ghost portal. However, unlike the other ghosts on this list, Danny is only a half ghost but still qualifies to be on the list. I mean, can you imagine the hate mail we'd get if we didn't include Danny on this list?
Tell me about it. Remember what happened after you put Delia Ketchum on your worst parents list?
Yeah, and I thought the hate mail for me not putting Merry Christmas Charlie Bun on our last Christmas special countdown was bad.
Anyway, what makes Danny such a unique entry on this list is just how much action he's seen. Remember when I said earlier that a ghost is judged by his enemies? Well, Danny has one of the most impressive resumes on this list. He's seen them all. Big ghosts, small ghosts, silly ghosts, scary ghosts, sad ghosts, mad ghosts, the whole enigmatic enemy variety pack, now complete with 2 TV movies.
Danny also faces the harsh reality of being a teenager who not only has to fight ghosts as Danny Phantom, but also has to face high school and the typical high school bullies as Danny Fenton. On top of all that, he's also the son of the town's only ghost catchers who tend to blast first and ask questions later. So Danny and his 2 friends must fight and send back all the ghosts they catch back to the ghost zone, kinda like young Ghostbusters when you think about it. A few more things worth mentioning is how the show develops both human and ghost Danny by these 2 aspects of his characters being explored throughout the series. While Ghost Danny discovers new powers and abilities to fight ghosts, human Danny becomes less selfish and more helpful to others and starts connecting more with his family, friends, and sometimes enemies.
Yep, Danny sure went a long way after becoming a ghost. He became a better brother, a better friend, and a protector. He went from a boy to a man. Unfortunately for him, someone else went farther.
Well, Danny is a good ghost worthy of the number 2 spot, but deep down, he's only human. As for the number 1 spot, this ghost is so terrifying that even the Netherworld is scared of him. But before we get to him, let's get a few honorable mentions out of the way.
It's been a pleasure, gentlemen, but I have pressing business elsewhere.
Pharaoh, this house is full of ghosts. Listen.
True self. For I am Samhain. I am Halloween.
Grim-grinning ghosts come out to socialize.
Number 1, Beetlejuice. Aw man, where do we begin with this guy? Imagine if Discord's brain was put in the Joker's body, then hypnotized into bringing the world to its feet with the use of magic powers. He is chaos given a physical form.
Beetlejuice isn't the self-proclaimed ghost with the most for nothing, as just the mere uttering of his name is enough to bring him into the mortal world and cause nothing but chaos and havoc anywhere he goes. Beetlejuice is a dishonest, selfish, and overall a grotesque prankster with the power to do as he pleases. Now, the reason we chose this jokester to be the number 1 ghost is because he is everything we hate in a person, but everything we like in a ghost. He's a con man and comes up with get-rich-quick schemes on the fly, even if it comes at the expense of his friends or Lydia's parents, but genuinely has a soft side for Lydia considering she's able to put up with his antics.
Now that I think about it, Beetlejuice embodies everything that we've discussed on this list. If ghosts are judged by his enemies, he wins. He's faced everything from otherworldly entities to straight up demons and got away without a scratch. His relationship with the living is interesting. He and Lydia have some of the best chemistry that I've seen between a non-romantic male and female couple in animation. He has all of the skills that a ghost should have, and he can use them like he invented all of them. This is why he is called the ghost with the most. He has everything and will not hesitate to use it.
Sure, Beetlejuice might not be a friendly or heroic ghost, but he's definitely the most infamous of ghosts out there. And remember, if you want this guy knocking at your door, just utter his name Beetlejuice 3 times and prepare for a night you won't forget, whether living or dead. And that was the top 13 animated ghosts. Be sure to let us know some of your favorite ghosts in the comments below. And as always, I'm your cartoon and animation fanatic, Channel Hopper.
And I'm Right Angle.
And the next review is just a click away.
So what do you want to do now?
Let's go scale Looney and the others in the Rift Cafe.
But I thought that joke was terrible.
It was, but after what happened at number 13, I figured out how to make it work. Just watch this scene.
Oh, Verdi!
See? Now we can actually scale everyone as real ghosts.
Oh, sweet idea! So, how do we change back after we're done?
Oh, son of a bitch!